There is an idol in the world that persists in every culture and in every country. And if you refuse to recognize this idol, people are even willing to kill you on the spot. Sometimes they even tell you that if you don't give homage to this idol, they'll do something to you. This idol is even so big that if you even consider not bowing to it, people already feel entitled to neglect you or to pretend if you don't exist. It's the idol called respect. Respect simply means forced validation. Someone wants something and they expect you to give into it. That's all respect is. For you to respect something simply means you give in to what is expected of you. However, is the expectation correct? That doesn't matter. Someone wants something and you just have to find a way to deal with what they want. That's what they call respect in the world. Now, how do you earn respect? By forcing it. So, respect is simply worldlings want to be validated so they don't have to face themselves. That's all it is. Because when worldlings have to face themselves, they escalate. They run. They don't want that. So worldlings want you to be in a similar darkness so they don't have to face themselves. Worldlings want you in a similar or worse situation so they don't have to feel guilty when they treat you badly. Respect simply means someone has an expectation and they expect you to give in to it. But hold on. If there's an expectation, the expectation must be examined, whether it's correct, whether it's right, whether it's beneficial, and whether it's worthy to be recognized. But when it comes down to respect, you have nothing to want, nothing to will, nothing to ask. You have to shut the F up and bend over and make sure everyone's at ease. Now, here's one thing about me and also about Christ and about people that truly walk in the power of Christ. We don't bow to anyone except Christ himself. Look, of course Christ is Lord, so let's leave him outside of it. But Christ does not bow down to idols. Christ doesn't bow down to anyone because he's Lord. And we will walk by faith, through faith. We don't bow to anyone except Christ. So, this whole idol thing, this whole thing called respect, is an abomination. Just think about it. You're not allowed to examine whether someone's expectation is correct or not, or whether there's a hidden dark motive behind it. You just have to give into it or else. Without an or else, without a threat, without blackmail, there is no such thing as respect. Respect requires blackmail for it to be valid. You think I'm lying? Okay, stop calling people sir or ma'am and see what happens. They turn on you. Why? They've been trained by their parents to use sir and ma'am. And now that they're older, they want validation for being decent people. And society told them you're a decent individual if you use honorifics. So now they expect you to use honorifics too, just like they are restricted to do so. If you don't give in to that restriction, what's going to happen? They're going to be offended, they're going to be upset, and now they want to take it out on you. Why is it that you are not allowed to have an option whether or not you use honorifics or not? Oh, but here it comes. If you need friendship or you need emotional companionship, don't expect it from those people because they would say you can't force friendship. Or if you need financial help, a lot of people will turn you down saying, well, you need to get a job or whatever. So when it comes down to your well-being, as well as your physical and spiritual and emotional needs, including your mental needs, most people would just feel bothered with you if you were openly needy like that. Oh, hold on. So people are not interested in the real you and looking after you, but they do demand you to use honorifics to them? Are you kidding me? Okay, what if someone doesn't like you? That simply means they're projecting their darkness on you. They have no business projecting any darkness on you. They should face themselves, face that they need therapy or they need help and look for solutions. They have no business blaming you for their internal unrest. But what if someone decides to blame you for their internal unrest and they act this out? They should be called out and addressed. But what do they say in the world? Well, someone can't stand you, so respect their wishes. No. Okay, so if you need to, quote unquote, validate someone projecting negativity on you, then that also means that you should be able to do the same thing to them too. But here it comes. If you do the same thing to them, now you're the perpetrator. Now you need to be dealt with. You see how narcissistic this is? And here's another thing. If it's okay to project negativity onto others because you need an outlet for your internal unrest, then what's wrong with genocide? What's wrong with murder? What's wrong with rape? What's wrong with any type of violation of the other if you're even allowed to dehumanize them mentally? If you are allowed, and if it's your right, that's what free willers are saying. If it's your right to dehumanize someone else just because you want to dump your inner unrest, then it's also alright to violate them in the outside world. But if everyone begins to do that, then it will be very unsafe. So that's why in the world, they give you permission to dislike and or hate someone as long as you do not act it out immediately. Now listen to what I'm saying here. You are not entitled to dehumanize anyone. Anyone. And you're not entitled to project any darkness on anyone. So this whole thing of respecting people's boundaries, respecting people's wills, it's bullshit. We have basic human decency that we consider the well-being and safety of other people. That's what we do. And we consider the wishes of other people if those wishes are correct, beneficial, constructive, and in line with Christ. That's how we ought to walk. This whole idea that just because a group of people decided to expect something and now you are obliged to give in to it, and if you don't do it, they are entitled to dehumanize you and project harm onto you. I'm sorry, but how come that there are even people that agree with this? Especially people that claim to follow Christ. There are even unbelievers who see through this hoax. It's a hoax. Respect is nothing but an excuse of worldlings to blackmail you. That's all it is. People bitch and moan and complain far more about respect, namely people giving in to their own restrictions, than they do about the actual safety and the actual well-being of their species. There are so many things that need to be addressed that are going wrong out there, but people keep focusing on not being validated. So the validation is more important than your safety? The validation is more important than your well-being? Oh, and if you don't get your validation, you feel the urge to tear people apart, right? So that you don't have to face yourself, that you are empty and addicted to others' approval. Come on. Why is it that this idol is not spoken about? It is because many that claim to follow Christ are also invested in this idol. Especially in those pagan churches. Those pagan churches are toxic and dysfunctional. There are way too many defective teachings and defective ways of thinking that churchgoers hold on to. But here's the thing. If you do not honor any of those toxic ways of those pagan churchgoers, they'll turn on you more than a worldling. Worldlings, not all of them, but worldlings in general, they would appreciate it when you tell them to get lost with their toxic negativity. Well, toxicity is negative anyway, but okay, you get what I'm saying. I mean, when it comes to human behavior, toxicity is often negative. But churchgoers are even more invested in rejection if they claim, if you are a real believer, that you walk in the power, and you have this churchgoer that comes to you with the attempt to restrict you, because the churchgoer comes in the name of Christ, but they don't walk in the power of Christ, they are under restrictions. If the pagan churchgoer comes to restrict you, and you, the real believer, decides I'm not taking it, look what happens. Look what happens. You become the worst enemy of them. Look, we should consider other people, we should consider what they want, but we should also examine them. And people must also self-reflect and examine themselves. For example, if you have someone who believes in this concept called race, which doesn't exist, you only have one race, the human race. If someone believes in it, now they want validation for it. But if that thing that they believe in is not real, then they shouldn't look for validation for that thing that's not real. Why? Because the whole construct of race has to do with political power and privilege. So they want to be identified with the superior race so that they will benefit from the symbolic power in daily life. So if you have someone who has a white parent and a black mother, and they hate to be called black, people say, well, it's their wish, you have to respect it. No. Biologically speaking, the melanin is dominant. So whiteness ends. Whiteness is just recessive genes. The recessive genes end when you mate with someone that has the full genes. Straight up, straight fact. So, biologically speaking, that individual is not white. But there is this thing. If you don't believe in the concept of race, it wouldn't matter to you. But if you seek the validation of society so much and you live in a white supremacist society, then someone like that would say, I'm mixed race, I'm this and that. They don't want to be called black because black people are labeled as the bottom. And he or she doesn't want to be associated with the bottom, so they prefer to enable violence against their own people just because they want to avoid trouble. So should you validate such an individual standpoint? No, you shouldn't. Because they're enabling harm. They don't want to face their role in what's going on. They just want to be left alone and they want others to validate it and give in to it. Not going to happen. Look, am I saying you have to go out there and look for fistfights with everyone when they're wrong? No. But what we should do is we should stop with this worship of respect. Respect is not even biblical. It is not. It's something we humans made up just to excuse ourselves when we blackmail others. That's all respect is. Basic human decency, self-reflection, and giving up entitlements that are not in line with Christ. That is what we ought to do. So replace this idol with the truth in you. Because as long as you bow down to this idol, you're bending to demons, straight up. And don't think you can be prayed up and fasting and walk in the power and at the same time bending over to this idol called respect. It's not going to happen. Another example. If someone thinks it's okay to hit someone just because you're upset, are we going to validate them by giving them space to hit someone? No, we wouldn't, right? So why, if someone thinks it's okay to hit children who don't have an option of any self-defense, why do we validate that? Well, it's their house, it's their privacy, it's how they chose to. No, they have nothing to choose. You just don't hit anyone. And you don't teach children to hit when you're frustrated. This whole respect thing is ridiculous. Cut it out, believers. I mean it. Cut it out.